Coach, it was a close game there for the vast majority of the game. What do you think was the turning point that gave the win to Cleveland?
They made a couple tough shots down the stretch. We talked about how we were going to respond to something. We didn't love our effort the last game versus Phoenix, and I thought our guys collectively responded, came out and played a good defensive team against a good defensive game versus a really high-powered offensive team. So I liked our compete. That full core, they just made some tough shots.
And what went behind the decision to put Jordan back in there with like 5 minutes left when the game was still in reach?
Jordan's one of our guys. Jordan has made big shots for us, especially since I've taken over. He had a huge three in San Antonio. So I want Jordan in those moments because he has no fear. And he's going to take the shot when it's open. So I'm always going to believe in him and go with him.
Obviously a tough night for him. What does he have to do to sort of bounce back mentally to have a good game in Boston on Friday?
I'm not worried about Jordan in the slightest. He got some in foul trouble, and sometimes that can throw your rhythm off. But I liked how he played tonight. He was getting in the paint. He was finding people. He just had a tough rhythm with the fouls, and sometimes that can happen.
Brian, you talked about liking your guys' competitiveness. What specifically did they do in the third after the Cavs came out hot to kind of
Yeah, I thought that was a great learning part and growth for our team. They came out, I think they hit us with a 7-0 run to start, and we made a stand. Got physical, started defending, scrambling around, multiple efforts, and then we made a little push for ourselves. So that was great growth, and that was the bounce back that we wanted to see tonight.
It seems like Kyle they D'd up better on him late. Is that what did you see there in the fourth quarter with him? Just do they?
Yeah, they just were. They put one there. I think Mobley was on him a little bit, but they were just kind of putting two on the ball a little bit, shading to his direction. But when you're a great player, you're going to have schemes against you. So I think we got good shots and the shots we wanted at the end, but they made a few more than we did.
I mean, we just didn't score enough. We scored 106. I mean, we played solid defense tonight for sure. We just couldn't score. Cleveland's one of the best defensive teams in the league. They got two bigs that are always somewhere weak side, and especially with us, we're like a top 5 paint team. So they did a good job of guarding us tonight.
What makes Donovan Mitchell such a tough assignment?
He's just in attack mode every possession. He's a shot maker. He shoots a lot, high volume, but he makes shots. So that's always at the top of the scout report. His ability to shoot off the bounce, shoot in tight spaces, finish at the rim, high floaters. I mean, he's a tough guy.
What have you noticed about Corey's? Obviously, he's improved over the season, but he seems to be doing it a bit more consistently now. Have you noticed anything about him coming off the bench?
I mean, he just needs to continue to play more and more. Out of everybody on the team, I think this year, from start to finish, he's gotten a lot better. He's no longer just a shooter. He is a basketball player, plays with a lot of effort, does a great job of mixing it up on attacking closeouts. He's a ball mover. He just knows how to play basketball. I've always said that about him. But, this year he's taking leaps. So
I wanted to ask you also just kind of about the vibes in the locker room before, obviously, the eve of the trade deadline. Is it different when you're on a roster where obviously, it's the first year of a rebuild, the organization's trying to make moves? Is this different in any way from any other trade deadlines you've been through?
No, not really. Every team makes trades. It's part of their business. I've been in this league for 7 years, and every year, every locker room I've been in has been kind of the same around this time. A lot of, anxiousness, a lot of uncertainty. It's always like that, but it's part of the business. So,
Kyle, what did you see the Cavs try to do to shut off Jordan tonight, to try to keep him from scoring at his usual rate?
I mean, we just need him to just continue to be aggressive. I don't think they really did anything. I think he just has to continue to be confident in himself and trust his work. He works harder than anybody on his team, and just going through a storm right now, but it's okay.
Kyle, the last two games against the Cavs, Jared Allen was really effective. And tonight it looked like Gaff kind of had a bounce-back game, kind of establishing that paint presence, finishing with a double-double and 4 blocks. What did you see from Gaff tonight that you liked, especially in response to the last two games against the Cavs?
We played a different style of defense now. So I think those two games at the beginning of the top of the year in Cleveland, we were playing a different type of defensive scheme that really allowed him to really cook. Gaff probably remembered that, played a lot more physical tonight, and had a good showing. So.
Now that you're a veteran, do you go into a trade deadline with less individual anxiety than you would have earlier in your career?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you're a young player, it's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of, it's a scary transition to get traded, especially I can only imagine if you get traded mid-year. It's never always ideal, picking up and leaving in the middle of the season for sure. But, I think, once you are in this league for a little while, you just understand it's a business and you don't get too attached to things. You always understand, just the business of basketball at this point. So.
Corey, it was a pretty steady diet of scoring for you tonight from the first through the fourth. What was working for you, and how did you find that level of consistency scoring the ball?
Yeah, just being really aggressive early. Did a hard look at a film over the last couple of games, and think we found something that's really going to help me be consistent for the rest of the year, and kind of stuck to my guns. I was out there for a long time, played a lot of minutes, and I've been pretty good. I've been getting better and better at finishing at the rim and taking advantage of that when guys close out. So when the shot wasn't open, I was able to drive and get to the cup too. So I kind of got it going from all different areas of the floor. And it's always good to make your first shot too. And the first 3 went in, and kind of let it roll from there.
Is there anything from that film study that you can share that you guys have found? Or
Yeah, sure. It's arc, honestly. I'm a pretty naturally flat shot, and when I miss shots consistently, it's because it gets too flat. So we really kind of looked at the last couple games, and then specifically the Phoenix game, didn't make one, and really kind of worked hard at putting some air underneath the ball, and turned out pretty good tonight. And so we're gonna, roll with it for the next, couple of games, and try to iron that into my routine.
When you make changes to your shot like that, from the repetition in practice to then replicating it in a game with less shots in a game than you're going to get in practice, how conscious is that at the top of your mind? Like before you rise up for a shot in the game, like I got to make that change, or do you work it in and it just feels natural? Yeah,
you work it in, it feels natural. It's important to get those reps in when you have a controlled environment, and kind of, work that into the fold. And then when it comes to the game time, it's like playing golf and you have a swing thought, You want to stick to about 1 or 2 of them, or else you're going to get too far in your head. So, having a shot thought and a swing thought was an easy translation for me.
I want to ask you what your shot thought is.
How does something like that on film come up after? Is this your second or third year? I can't remember. But how does that come up this season?
Yeah, it's come up before, and like I said earlier, my shot, even when I'm feeling good, is naturally a little flatter. But when it gets to a point where you can notice it on film, that's when you got to correct it. So every single game we're watching film. It's not like I don't watch every game, but when it pops out at you on the film, that's when you kind of got to go back and reassess. So it's a small tweak. It's an easy tweak, but it's just something I need kind of constant reminders of to make sure I'm at my best from back there.
Was this this wasn't the first game you played where you made the tweak, or was it?
This was, yeah.
I also wanted to ask you just generally about the trade deadline, and wondering how you personally kind of deal with all the uncertainty and stuff in the air.
It's the most interesting time of the year for an NBA player, that's for sure. You kind of you talk to your people, but there's really no way of knowing what's going to happen until it does. So it's part of the life of playing in this league, and it's kind of one of the darker sides of it. Guys got to pack up and move, from across different teams, and everyone's prepared for the beginning of February. So it's definitely on all of our minds. And, but at the same time, we're prepared for it. We're prepared to play if nobody gets traded, or we're prepared to play if a bunch of guys do. And it's just kind of how you roll when you've been in the league. It's definitely something you got to get used to. And I'm feeling like I'm more prepared for it this year than ever. And, whatever we decide to do, whether it's a little or none or a lot, we got to roll with the punches.